We are in Texas in July. We are chasing alligator gar with Captain Kirk Kirkland. Before I had ever been down here, I just saw an alligator gar. Great big ugly fish with big teeth, looks like an alligator with a back fin, and I'm like, I gotta do that. And I found out you did this stuff. We came down, we did a TV show. Then the trouble started. He told me that one of them struck one of his bobbers one time, and I got to thinking, Mr. Muskie Head, I can catch those on lure. And so we've been talking about it for 5 years and decided to do it. And I had to drag my son Seth down here to torture him, you know, because Dad likes to do things the hard way. But we are in the Trinity River area in July, and we're gonna chase alligator gar casting muskie baits. And we'll show you the next bite.
Just looking for the next bite, next bite, just looking for the next bite.
We'll continue to show you the next bite.
Alligator gar have gotten somewhat of a bad rap over the years when it comes to being considered a trophy fish.
Slimy little boogers and stink. I wish the camera could smell how stinky this is.
But Captain Kirk Kirkland knows this prehistoric species of predator like the back of his hand.
He's talking. Hey, it's the next bite. Hey, how are you?
And wants everyone to know when it comes to these armored, tooth-riddled behemoths, there shouldn't be any argument about their true place in nature.
These alligator gar have long been thought to be trash fish. They've been in most of the southern states. They are able to tolerate salt water. They go out into salt water quite often, come up into all these freshwater rivers. Texas has one of the best remaining populations of alligator gar anywhere in the world. These fish spawn every, say, 3 to 7 years sometimes. These fish will live to be 80 to 90 years old. So they're not a trash fish. Any fish that gets to be up to 200, I've even caught fish over 300 pounds. And any fish that gets that big should be thought of as a trophy fish. And so anybody that is interested in a big predator, we're in Texas and it's the greatest place in the world to catch one.
Alligator gar are literally one of the toughest fish that swim in fresh water.
All right. What is that thing?
It's a long nose.
Hey man, that's the first gar I've seen on a lure. I'm getting the net. Get in here, fella. What is that now?
That's a long nose.
That's a long nose.
Their interlocking scales are like armor, and their massive bony jaws are lined with teeth that are the stuff of nightmares. Not just for their prey, but for anglers as well.
Cute guy. Holy moly.
That's a baby for here.
Believe me, from what I've seen rolling out here, I know this is a little one, but I've never seen a gar, you know, caught on a lure, so.
Yeah, you get a big one, we'll have to put a rope on him.
I've actually got a glove, but you know, I'm a professional, so
You don't need no stinking glove.
There, cute fella. We're still pondering now whether or not how apt they are to hit them, or if we're bumping into them. To be real honest, we're not absolutely sure. We know they'll hit artificials, and that's why, you know, we're doing this whole thing, but it's just kind of a crazy deal. This particular fish was actually hooked just behind the gill. We really don't know what that hard bony knows, if he bit it or not, or if we just hit him. It's just to see this many fish rolling all around you, and the semi-panic that actually sets in when you're seeing a ton of them like that. It's gonna be so much fun to try and pattern this, try and figure out what these fish may or may not hit, the best way to approach it.
The gar's facial anatomy is the reason why casting hard baits for them is crazy.
Got one.
Something.
Got a long nose. He come off.
He come off. That was a gar, though.
And he was in the mouth.
He was in the mouth. That one hit it.
So why would anyone want to try something so difficult?
That feel like a good one?
Yeah, it felt like a pretty good fish.
5 years ago, Kirk and I got together, did a show for The Next Bite. The way he normally fishes for these fish is fresh, dead bait, and basically throwing them out in the river and waiting for the fish to come along. But you notice the look of this fish, and you notice that it's definitely a predator. And then the thing that tipped me off was that he once in a while says they'll come up and hit that slip float. And I thought, man, there's got to be a way maybe to get these things in artificial. And then we basically started talking about this, and you know, you've had other things happen that make you think they'd hit a bait.
Yeah, Pete, we fished here in the lake a lot of times, and when we got our baits out here, we'll get a bite, you know, fish pick the dead bait up and start running with it, and I'll quickly jerk the anchors up, start reeling other baits in, and they'll grab one of the other baits as I'm reeling it in. So, you know, I mean, they've got to be a reaction, you know, when they see something like that. And even on a great day with bait, I don't catch but 3 or 4 or 5. So, I mean, you know, I guess you just got to keep casting until you get one.
Those are the rules, man.
That's it, man.
The Next Bite is brought to you by Mercury, #1 on the water. Amsoil, performance for serious adventure. Tracker Boats, fish the finest. Bass Pro Shops, your adventure starts here. Berkeley, catch more fish. Mustad, stay sharper longer. Lowrance, find, navigate, dominate. Motor Guide trolling motors engineered for anglers. Strike King, legacy of domination for 50 years. And Power Pole, swift, silent, secure. Gar are also sometimes known as gar pike. And of the 7 total members of this family, there are 2 types of gar that swim in the muddy waters of the Trinity River.
Oh, come on, baby.
Long-nosed gar and their larger cousins, the alligator gar.
It's alligator gar too, Pete. It's alligator gar.
So he's the right
flavor, Pete.
Alligator gar are what Pete, Kirk, and Seth are targeting by casting lures, a presentation that this lineage of Cretaceous relics have most likely never seen before.
He's going under the boat. Going under the boat. No, come on.
A little bit of fight in this thing.
Yes, he is.
The trick, of course, has been getting a good hookup.
Look at there.
Yeah, look at that. Look at that. Get in there.
Awesome! Woo! I'm gonna give you a hug.
That's awesome.
Man, that's awesome.
Oh, it's just like muskie fishing. I mean, we haven't had anything happen. Almost getting bored watching them come up every now and again, thinking, what do I got to do to get one to bite? Holy cow. I mean, I see that hook. He bent that out bad, dude.
Yeah, man, when he hit it, he just whacked it.
Whoa.
I mean, he did it hard.
There, we got it. Whew. There, we got it bent back. But boy, I'll tell you what, we're going to have to try and play him lightly.
Yeah, and that's an extra strong hook, too.
Yes, it is. These are some big, strong fish. Well, you are the gar expert. Now, are you going to show us how to pick this up and, you know, not get your arm eaten?
Yeah, what I do is just pull him over in the boat with the net, and because that way you don't drop him in the water and we don't get a picture of him. These gar are air breathers. You don't have to be so careful with them like you would a muskie or something, because they have a ganoid scale, which is really tough. So you can just take your pictures, do whatever you need, and then release him back in the water.
Yeah, that's
fight
amazing.
Again.
Now, normally I preach, especially in the summer, you keep a muskie out of the water maybe 10 seconds. I mean, at the most. This fish, as long as he's wet, he's good, right?
Yes, sir.
While casting hard baits for alligator gar makes muskie fishing look easy by comparison, Pete is putting a method to this madness by using his electronics to not only pinpoint fish on an otherwise structureless stretch of river bottom, but to cherry pick them for size as well.
You know, I normally don't hold these. I put them in everybody else's arms and make them get slimy. So
look at him. He's sucking air right now.
yeah, he's just gulping air.
Oh, yeah.
You look at the nose holes in the end of the nose. That's where he breathes, see? See the 2 holes there? And he comes up and gets a gulp of air, and that lung goes all the way down the middle of his back here. And that's what's made these fish be able to survive for over 100 million years.
That fish definitely attacked that lure.
Yeah, that's the ultimate predator in this water.
Real unique situation we've got here with regard to the electronics and just in general. We've got these great big gar fish, and there's times during the day that you actually see them visually. They're doing a lot of porpoising and sometimes jumping. And then there's other times where they're just not up at all. It's a big flat area here, so we're not covering anything real specific as far as edges or anything, but what there is a ton of garfish and a ton of shad. And when they're going, or they're not coming up, if they're kind of staying down, the interesting thing is just in general to look at this side scan and obviously the sonar and down scan, but we're in 8 foot of water, so the side scan is the most interesting because you want to cast towards the bigger fish if you can. If they're exposing themselves up on top, that's where you throw, but when they're staying down, I've been watching this side scan, and it's amazing how you can actually see marks on here, and the real big fish, you can actually see a shadow behind them. And as you get used to having all these big fish around, you can actually eventually tell which one's a big one and which one's not real easily. We've got fish here anywhere from 20 pounds all the way up to 200 pounds, and you can see that on that side scan. Number one, it's just neat, but number two, I'm looking at that to tell me which way to cast, because I want to cast at one of those big ones.
The Real Deal, real fishing information from real fishing experts, presented by AmSoil.
As you may or may not be able to hear, it's a little bit nasty outside, so I'm spending a little bit of time in the shop. You know, as a professional walleye angler, I really look for the advantages, and some of the trends in walleye fishing are definitely artificials. And not only artificials, but artificial crawlers. You know, there's a lot of different techniques out there that we utilize crawlers in, and today I'm going to fill you in on a couple of tips and techniques that we use. The first technique I want to talk to you about is jig fishing. You know, jig fishing is a year-round technique that's very versatile. You know, there's a secret I've been holding out on a lot of folks for the last couple of years because it's won me so much money, and that's the 4-inch crawler. The 4-inch crawler is probably my go-to bait because it has so much lifelike action. The watermelon pearl imitates smelt and shiners and some of the other forage that you find in your local systems. You know, some of the other great options would be the pinch crawler and also the 3-inch fry. The next technique I want to talk to you about is slow death. Slow death is a really unique technique utilizing a severely bent hook. When you thread a crawler on it, it actually creates that bend in the crawler that gives it a really unique action as you're pulling it behind a bottom bouncer. Kind of gives it a corkscrew motion. You start out with the killer crawler, it's got a fairly tight corkscrew action. You go to the fry and it actually widens out a little bit. And my go-to one, just as is in a jig, is definitely the 4-inch crawler. This bait in watermelon pearl really imitates a lot of bait fish, just as it did on the jig, but it has a really unique lazy roll going through the water that fish can't resist. So whether I'm jigging or pulling slow death, I truly believe that gulp crawlers have given me more success on the walleye trail.
With the area waters of Texas's Trinity River that Pete, Kirk, and Seth are casting being so murky, they are focusing their lure selections to hard baits that also have some sort of sound factor.
So we've had several hours of trying to figure out what these fish are wanting to eat in the baking sun down here, and seeing a lot of fish here and there, but all of a sudden Kirk says, hey, there's a pretty good batch over there, let's go check that out, and we literally get into what seems like an unbelievably tight school of them.
And I'm beginning to think we're mad because we've cast and cast and cast, and all of a sudden, Pete, I got one. He sets the hook, and of course he says, I think it's a long nose. Well, just about the time he said that, I'm looking back, the alligator gar comes flying out of the water with a hook in the side of his mouth. Look at that, buddy.
Whoa!
Woo, you got you one. Look at that, Pete.
That is awesome. I tell you what, this is just like muskie fishing, dude.
6,000 cast.
Yeah.
Only thing really that's soft is inside the mouth. I mean, unless these fish really bite this hook, you're not gonna get him.
All right, get him in there, buddy, he's ready. You got him.
Oh man, you got him,
dude. We definitely did not have a plan of exactly how this was going to go down here. So, I mean, to me, that was just an awesome deal. It was my first one. I know there's way bigger ones here, but just to get one to try this, what nobody else has really tried that I'm aware of, trying to throw musky lures down here and try and catch these gar, it's just a great experience.
Hey, I think yours is bigger than mine.
Oh,
that's bad.
Dang, it is.
It's quite a bit bigger than mine.
That's because I'm the muskie expert. This doesn't look anything like
I want you to show what I was going to show you about those teeth.
I don't know if I want.
You don't know if you want to look or not, huh?
Look at that. You can see where it was hooked there.
We got it.
Pretty good.
I want you to see these teeth in the front right here. See those teeth right there?
Oh, man. Yeah.
That's what was digging the bow of the boat.
Well, I might even hug this one.
Ooh, then I don't have to get dirty.
Well, that's true. That's true.
You do need to hug your first one you caught on a lure. Yeah, he's bigger than mine, definitely.
Yeah, wow.
That sucks.
I broke my flip-flop fighting him.
Well, you know, it was a good fight.
That's the only problem with that. Oh. There we go. Ah, look at that. Look at that smile.
Face only a mother could love. Or a muskie fisherman.
Well, certainly one thing that hasn't changed with this experiment with alligator gar is that patterning, trying different lures has been extremely important. I basically just opened up all the tackle boxes when I got here. We got 3 anglers. I prefer that regardless of whether you're fishing for muskie, gar, or whatever. But we're all trying different things. We're trying to figure out what these fish want. We have some general ideas of what they may want. With the darker water, we're thinking more about sound. We've gotten to definitely say with what we've had for strikes that swim bait style lures have been more effective. And these 2 baits, basically this H2O lure, which just kind of like a big rattle trap in a way, moving through the water, and then this Sebile Magic Swimmer have been baits that we've caught a couple fish on this style. And then the other thing is we feel like we've had quite a few hits as well. Again, these are really tough mouths on these fish, so I think we're missing a lot of them. So just in general, a great tip is to try a bunch of different things. Let the fish tell you what they're in the mood for.
Hot topics, leading information, and tackle and techniques to make you a better angler. Presented by Mercury.
I'll tell you what, this technology is amazing. All I did is come cruising up here, hit this thing, put it in anchor mode. You could see how the motor just basically turned around. This is the Motor Guide XI5, and what I've just showed you is its anchor mode. We cruise forward because of the forward momentum of the boat. The anchor actually took hold, made us come back, slowly brought us back to the original position where I pressed the button, and now we're pinned here, and we're not going to move. I've used this motor for a little bit over a year, and I'll tell you what, it's a game changer. Right now, because of the accuracy of this motor, I try to pinpoint the fish on the structure, and then I'm starting to switch more to casting techniques than what I ever did before. I'm jigging more than I ever did before. I'm casting crankbaits more than I ever did before, and sometimes I'm even waiting crankbaits so that I can get them down a little bit deeper. The technology of this motor alone is so accurate that I have guys that come into my boat that have other motors that do similar things, and they just can't believe how pinpoint this is. Because it's that accurate, like I said, it changes the way I fished. In the last 30 years that I've tournament fished, this might be one of the biggest advancements that I've seen in those 30 years.
Pete and Kirk have successfully proven to themselves that their suspicions that alligator gar will bite on casted lures. However, with time winding down on the remainder of their trip on the Trinity River, the group has decided to use some freshly caught and killed bait fish on a shore rod with a bite alarm and float to up their odds as they continue to cast.
Well, we decided while we were here we needed to at least get some baits out, because that's the way Kirk normally chases these alligator gars. He's taking fresh dead bait and chunking it out in the river. And we got a unique spot here today where we can actually do a little bit of both. The water clarity is pretty good for casting, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna set some baits out like he normally does, and then we're gonna go out and throw some baits and hopefully catch something on artificials as well. And we're doing that for a while. We've actually had a couple of runs, and but the fish dropped the bait.
The sun's beating down on us and we're all just casting here, and all of a sudden the alarm starts going on.
Let's go have a look, boys.
So we get all the lines in and we run into shore and we grab the reel.
So we're chasing the fish with Kirk giving both Seth and I directions to kind of keep up with it, and we're waiting for a pause in the fish's activity and then a move again. And that's when he's gonna tell Seth to set that hook.
Reel up just a little more. Here's our float right here.
So I set the hook on the fish, and I didn't know if I got it the first time, so I set the hook again because Dad was yelling at me to set the hook.
Put the butt of your rod between your legs so you can get some pressure on him. Put your hand out there a little further on your reel. Yep. Now keep him coming. You don't have to reel. As long as he's running, let him run. Seth's reeling and he's going crazy. The rod's going backwards. It's going up between, under his arm, and I'm telling you, get it between your legs where you can get some pressure on this fish. And of course he's got slack going everywhere. His fingers are slipping off the reel handle.
And I'm trying to control this thing because I was slobbering sunscreen on me when the alarm went off. So my hands were really slippery and I couldn't control the rod.
Now don't reel anymore until now keep him away from the boat. Keep him away from the boat.
There you go.
Okay. Alligator gar.
It's just so cool to see him get that fish, and it was actually one that he caught. It's just an awesome deal. Get that out of the way of everything.
Okay, Seth, what do you think about your first alligator gar?
Yeah, good. It was, good fight there. I was worried that I was gonna lose it, but
Well, you didn't.
all that slack in the line.
We were talking a little loud voice to you, but you did great. You got it after. And like I said, these are air breathers, so you don't have to hurry up and get them back in the water.
Right.
You can see he's sitting there gulping air right now.
So it was really hard to grip this fish because it had this slime on it. So it was hard to hold it, and then it smells horrible. Like the worst thing you've ever smelled.
Seth, you act like somebody owes you money or something, dude. You're getting away from him. And,
Well, I don't
exactly what you really should do is lip him.
Yeah, there you go.
Put your thumb in his mouth and hold it.
Oh, look at that. Oh boy, he just had a big old burp there. We've done enough now that this is definitely the deal. So just a great general trip.
I'm gonna bite you. Oh, hey. And there he is. Watch your tootsies.
You don't have to call me darling.
I'm gonna come out there. Hey, y'all doing? Y'all ready to shoot one of them moving pictures? I'm gonna catch me one of them dogs.
The Next Bite would like to thank Captain Kirk Kirkland of Kirkland's Gar Fishing Guide Service. Captain Kirk is the original rod and reel gar guide, catching almost 100 IGFA records from Mexico to the Mississippi. Visit Kirk at texasfishingguides.org/Kirkland.